The Cathari High Command had studied humans for cycles before making first contact. Their xenobiologists had dissected captured specimens, analyzed their physiology, and reached unanimous conclusions. Humans were weak. Their bones were hollow, compared to Cathari density. Their muscles contained a fraction of the fiber strength found in proper warrior species. Their skin tore like wet paper. Most damning of all, they died so easily. A single plasma bolt that would merely singe a Cathari warrior would vaporize human tissue. Their lifespans were laughably short, barely a century even under optimal conditions. They were, by every measurable standard, the most fragile sentient species the galaxy had ever produced, which made their defiance all the more insulting. General Thakmor adjusted his battle harness as he reviewed the tactical display. The human colony of New Brisbane stretched below their assault fleet like a ripe fruit waiting to be plucked. Intelligence indicated roughly 50,000 civilians, defended by perhaps 200 human soldiers. The Cathari force numbered 10,000 battle-hardened warriors equipped with the finest armor and weapons their empire could provide. "This will be over before the sun sets," Thakmor rumbled to his aide. "Perhaps we can finish in time for the evening feast." The assault began at dawn with a thunderous orbital bombardment that reduced the colony's outer defenses to smoking craters. Atmospheric fighters screamed overhead, strafing any structure that might house resistance. Then came the ground forces, wave after wave of towering Cathari warriors in their gleaming power armor, each one capable of shrugging off small arms, fire, and crushing a human skull with their bare hands. The first wave encountered scattered resistance. Human soldiers fired their primitive kinetic weapons from hastily constructed barricades, their projectiles sparking harmlessly off Cathari armor. They were swept aside like insects. The second wave found even less opposition. It seemed the humans had learned the futility of resistance. By midday, the Cathari had pushed deep into the colony's heart. That's when they found the school. 300 human children cowered inside the reinforced structure, while a single figure stood guard at the entrance. The warrior, for surely this was their champion, wore no armor save a simple ballistic vest. His weapon was an ancient chemical propellant rifle that belonged in a museum. He couldn't have been more than 25 cycles old, barely past adolescence by Cathari standards. Captain Zethkar laughed through his suit's external speakers as he led his battalion forward. "Stand aside, whelp, and we may grant you a quick death." The human's response was to shoulder his rifle and fire. The bullet struck Zethkar's helmet dead center, spiderwebbing the reinforced visor, but failing to penetrate. The captain staggered, more from surprise than damage. Around him, his warriors raised their plasma rifles with casual confidence. What happened next would be debated in Cathari war colleges for generations. The human moved like liquid death. He rolled behind cover as plasma bolts turned the ground, where he'd stood into molten glass. His rifle barked again. This time the bullet found the gap between Zethkar's helmet and chest plate. The captain fell, purple blood fountaining from his throat. Chaos erupted. The battalion spread out, their training taking over, but the human was already gone. He appeared 30 meters to their left, rifle smoking, and another warrior dropped, clutching his shattered knee joint. Before they could respond, he'd vanished again into the maze of abandoned vehicles and debris. For 6 hours, the human played a deadly game of hide-and-seek with an entire armored battalion. He struck from shadows, eliminated sentries, and melted away before reinforcements could arrive. His ancient rifle punched through joints and gaps that Cathari engineers had deemed impossible to exploit from such primitive weapons. But it wasn't just his accuracy that terrified them. It was his endurance. Cathari warriors, for all their strength, tired quickly in combat. Their massive frames required enormous energy to maintain. After 2 hours of fighting, they needed rest and resupply. After 4 hours, their movements grew sluggish. The human never stopped, never slowed, never seemed to tire. When ammunition ran low, he scavenged from the dead. When his rifle's barrel grew too hot, he switched to captured plasma weapons. When those ran dry, he used explosives. When those were exhausted, he killed with shards of metal and his bare hands. By sunset, the battalion was in full retreat. Of the 800 warriors who had advanced on the school, fewer than 300 remained combat effective. The rest lay dead or wounded, victims of a single human defending a building full of children. General Thakmor watched the tactical display with growing horror as the reports filtered in. Other units across the colony were reporting similar encounters. Humans who should have died from the first plasma blast were instead fighting for hours, days even. They dragged themselves forward with shattered limbs, continued fighting with mortal wounds, and refused to yield even when facing impossible odds. How? Thakmor whispered. Our science is flawless. They are weak. They are fragile. They should not be capable of this. His aide, a veteran of a dozen campaigns, spoke quietly. Perhaps, General, our science measured the wrong things. The evacuation order came at midnight. The Cathari High Command, faced with casualty reports that defied all logic and expectation, declared the human colony unsuitable for conquest due to unexpected defensive capabilities. But in the quiet corridors of Cathari command ships, a new understanding began to emerge. Humans were indeed fragile. Their bodies broke easily. Their lives ended quickly. But fragility, they learned, was not the same as weakness. A creature that knew it could be destroyed at any moment and chose to fight anyway possessed something no amount of armor or advanced technology could replicate. The humans called it courage. The Cathari, lacking any equivalent concept in their language, could only call it terrifying. From that day forward, human space was marked on Cathari charts with a single annotation. Approach with extreme caution. Contents more dangerous than they appear. The warrior who held the school lived to see the evacuation. He was found 3 days later, unconscious from blood loss but still clutching his rifle, surrounded by the bodies of those who had tried to reach the children behind him. The children remembered his name was Marcus Chen. History would remember him as the man who taught the galaxy that strength comes not from being unbreakable, but from choosing to stand unbroken.